For my final project video, I chose Aladdin as my topic. As most of y'all know, Aladdin's a story of Jasmine and Aladdin. He's kind of a street rat. Well, the movie, at least the Disney movie, he's portrayed as a street rat and a poor guy who is a thief, and he steals to survive with his monkey, Abu. And he meets the princess and pretends to be somebody that he's not in order to win her when he really didn't have to in the first place, and they end up together. He meets the genie. There's a lot of main characters, but the original story, Arabian, and the version in the Arabian Nights, is a story about a woman and a man, and the man is a prince, and he has a new wife every day, and he kills a wife every day. But Jasmine, the princess or the queen, she starts a story where she tells her husband the story every single night. She keeps on adding different tales and different stories to it, so he doesn't have a reason. So he has a reason not to kill her. She's just trying to find any type of twist in the story to be able to save her own life, which is understandable. But Aladdin is just a small story within all those tales. The Arabian Nights being told in the real Aladdin story, he's not a street rat. He's actually from a Wala family, and the setting is not in Arabia. It's in China. He gets kicked out by his mother. They have money. She's just mad because he doesn't have a job and that he's lazy. And also, what's it called? There's not just one genie in the movie. In the book, there's two. And the story, it goes a lot different than from Disney. I think a lot of changes were made for it to be portrayed on television and movies and theaters, because some people don't find stories like that as interesting as they would have found the story of Aladdin, a street rat boy trying to win over a queen or a rich woman, compared to a boy just being kicked out of his house in order to provide for himself. It relates to the movie a lot of ways, because it in a way tells the same story, but in a way it doesn't, because I feel like it's more of the overall Arabian Night story doesn't relate at all to Aladdin, but the actual Aladdin story within the Arabian Night story does. There's just, I feel like, a lot of character changes, especially with Aladdin. Jasmine doesn't change that much, but Aladdin himself, he changes a lot. They change his whole background, and I feel like when you change the background of a character, you change the entire plot, the whole story, the whole experience he goes through. Because if Aladdin was in a street rat, he wouldn't have been treated the way he was at the beginning of the Disney version. But considering he came from money, well, not money, they were still poor, but he was just lazy. I don't feel like the readers and the viewers would have responded the same as some of the other people would have. What inspired Aladdin? Aladdin was inspired by the Arabian Nights book, like I stated before, with the whole storytelling and the stories that she told was Arabian Nights. She told many stories, and Aladdin was a small portion of all the stories that she told, but none of them were ever finished, was the catch. She would keep adding on to them, hoping that he won't kill her because there was more to the story. What changes were made for the film? Like I said, a lot of changes were made for the film, but I think the whole three-wish genie thing, that was different. There was two genies in the original version of Aladdin when there was one in the movie. Jasmine stayed the same for the most part, I believe, but what is his name? The bad guy, I'm gonna look up his name real quick. Aladdin. That did change for sure. I do remember seeing that. Jafar's character changed a little bit, Jafar was not really talked about in the Arabian Nights version of Aladdin, but he was a big portion of the Aladdin version because without Jafar, there would have been no movie. He played a big role in holding Princess Jasmine captive and kind of giving Aladdin a run for his money as far as wanting to take over the kingdom and ruling. But I think the twist on the evil portion really took a turn for the worse in the Disney version compared to the original version, because the original version wasn't all that it was entertaining, but not nearly as much as the Disney version. Disney definitely created a plot in order for viewers to really like grasp a good and evil type of view, because in the original story there was evil, don't get me wrong, but it was nothing like in the Disney movie. It was more of a whose side you're on. Aladdin growing out of his mother's house, and Jasmine being a queen, and them not really belonging with each other. But in this newer version, they really distinguish between good, bad, evil, not evil. But that's kind of the whole take Disney takes on a lot of things. They like to put a title and a name to things. Things have to be good and bad. Things have to be evil, not evil. So Jafar, like, Aladdin is, I don't know, his character is portrayed a little bit worse, I feel like, in the Disney version, because they make it seem like he's such a riffraff when he's really not, because the song even goes riffraff, street rap. I don't buy that. That Aladdin is not in real life like that. He's just a regular boy from regular community, regular home. But I think this goes to say that Disney changes the original takes of stories for entertainment purposes. The original story of Aladdin some would say was entertaining, but others would say is a lot more boring than the newer version. It's a lot more kid appropriate. The newer version, it just grasps your attention a lot more if you're seeing people fight, seeing people win over people's hearts, instead of just watching a story about a boy growing up and not really taking on the roles of an adult and ending up being kicked out by his mother. But now I don't think it's a bad idea that Disney changes some of these things in order to entertain to entertain viewers for viewer purposes, as long as it's not like historically significant.